I feel that life used to drag on and it was really boring and time seemed to go really slowly. Now it's like, it feels like it's just going a mile a minute. Like I am just flying through the days and yeah, it's a blast. Like, cause right now I get to, do what I love.
And once you start working on yourself, every aspect of your life improves.
Now I'm more authentic. I'm not scared to show someone my whole self.
This workshop for sure saved my life.
I feel better today than I did in my 20s. I feel stronger today. I feel more inspired today. It's amazing that the person I see today is not the girl I was when I left in 2016. It truly is not. Our marriage is completely transformed. My entire life is completely transformed, and it continues to change, and I continue to grow.
It's been an amazing journey to watch.
It's not over.
It's the best medicine you could ever give yourself.
Life is so fun now.
I'd say overall, if I had to pinpoint one main thing that I've gotten from this work, it is learning what the value of my life is.
The reason why I wanted to come to a mythic voyage was I was just desperate and I wanted to die. And when I was about 22 to 23 is when my life was still spiraling out of control, but there'd been some situations in my life that had made me want to start to change and figure out what was wrong with me, because I knew there was something wrong with me and I just couldn't figure it out. And so I started searching when I was about 22, 23. At the same time, I was still wild and like fucking my life up completely, but I was also doing yoga at the same time and doing acupuncture and naked workshops up in the woods. Like I was just desperate. I was trying to grab anything that would give me some answers or give me some relief or make me not be so angry or scared or alone. And by the time I got to TierraMitica, I like I said before, I was desperate, and I would do anything at that point because nothing had worked up into that point. And I found TierraMitica very randomly. I was hiking the Appalachian Trail to go find myself in the woods, and it ended up being a big party the whole trail. It was just the opposite of what I had intended. But I met this girl, Erin, and later on, like years later, I was talking to her, and at the point I was talking with her, like I wanted to kill myself, and I was doing heroin. I'd been on the couch for like a month or two on end, enough where like it was a new couch and there was a divot in it because I was just there and I was surrounded by food wrappers, and like I remember it was winter and it was fucking snow outside, and I just would watch everything on Netflix, like everything. I watched everything and just did drugs. And I saw Erin and she was shining on Facebook, and so I was like, oh, like she's hot, I flirted with her on Facebook, and she messaged me back, and like within 5 minutes I was crying and like telling her how fucked I was, and she was telling me about this workshop, and I signed up immediately. Like I read what it was about, and it was exactly what I was searching for. Who I am to now is like I'm a feeling machine. Like I went my whole life, except when I was a little boy, just numb. I didn't even realize the extent of and the depth and the beauty of how hard I could feel and how deep I could feel, I cry every day now. Sometimes I laugh at myself and think about like the way I used to be and the way I'm now, and that guy would be like, dude, like pull it together. But I love it. Like I love it.
Before I started this work, I've been unhappy most of the time, but I perceive it like a normal state. You get married, you have a job, a house, a car, 2 trips a year, and hating Mondays. Nobody seemed to wonder what they are doing here on Earth. So, what is the purpose of life? I thought that this is a normal course of life, but somehow in my heart, I felt that there is more. After I started the work, I was very enthusiastic and motivated because I felt that this is the way. It seemed hard at the beginning, but the results were coming fast. And I had to admit that when I saw changes in my husband, he started the work too, I was very motivated to keep up.
I had really disconnected with who I was in my heart, and I couldn't feel love. I couldn't feel much at all. I felt really, really alone. And I knew there was something, I felt there's something wrong with me and I don't know what it is. Now I feel the most grounded I have, like the most at peace, the most, like I understand myself and the world. I'm so grateful to my first workshop because I opened my eyes to humanity and that to people and people being beautiful people who just want to love, and seeing all of the advances that we're making and that we have made. It's unbelievable.
I was quite a serious person. I was very academic and was doing a sensible job and worked in the city in finance and was very much, do what my parents would expect of me. Feeling like I had to fulfill a duty almost, like I was obligated to live a certain life. And this wasn't working for me at all. So I felt very stuck, but completely terrified to do anything about it. And I thought there was something wrong inside me. I thought there was something wrong with my brain or the way that I was. I didn't realize there was anything to do with my choices, but I just decided I don't want to live like this anymore. I deserve to sort this out, and I'm going to sort it out. And I'm going to go, and this is going to be it. And so I went, and I came from Mythic Voyage, and I was surprised to learn that it was all about the choices I was making in my life. So the person who I am now is, I don't know where to start. I love who I am so much. Like, I'm a really happy person. Like, people would perceive me as being probably the happiest person that they know. I'm so proud of myself. I'm a really loving person and really open and have a lot of clarity about who I am and what's happening in the world and what makes us happy. I've made myself into the person who I've always wanted to be.
The thing about the workshops is they're so powerful in nature of how experiential they are and how they're able to tap into your subconscious. So with that, the ability to kind of get right to the root of some of these issues with your subconscious and your old beliefs, it's something you can't forget, right? It's always going to be with me for the rest of my life, and that's for the better.
I think one thing that I found the most interesting and valuable was to just experience my new self in regards to the outside world.
Before my first workshop in TierraMitica, I was also getting to a point of being really terrified of being alone forever. And I vividly remember a few occasions, particularly after, an evening out with family or friends who were there with their partners, supporting each other and going home together. And I remember going home to my big cold bed, crawling under the covers and just crying from my core. This desperate, frustrated, fearful cry. I was so, I felt like I had no control over this aspect of my life, that I was at the mercy of the gods and it wasn't playing out in my favor. I was lonely. I was really lonely and afraid that I was going to live the rest of my life that way. After my workshop, a number of things changed. So in relation to relationships, there were two key things. One, I started looking for the right kind of men. I was going for guys who I could ultimately probably outsmart because that felt safer. But I learned at my workshop that that kind of relationship would not serve my happiness. It wasn't how I was going to have my mythic happily ever after love story. Number two, the second thing that changed was me. I was more open. I was able to be vulnerable. I no longer wanted to live like an island. I understood femininity and was so much more comfortable in that. And with all of that, it was little surprise that in less than 3 weeks after coming back from my first workshop in TierraMitica, I met an incredible man, the man of my dreams, who 3.5 years later, I guess, we are still falling more and more in love every day, and the relationship is just fizzing. We just got married, and countless people told us that they'd never seen two people who were in love.
Romantic relationships is completely different now to what it was 8 years ago. So now I am engaged to be married, and when I started at TierraMitica, I actually came with my ex, who I'm really fond of still as a friend, but we were very much best friends. No polarity. Neither of us was being the man or the woman. We were very samey and very equal, and it was nice. It was really comfortable, but there was no passion. And I came to a workshop and was shown what life it was that I was living. And in that mythic voyage, one thing that I was really scared of about leaving a relationship was that I would never be able to fall in love. I didn't believe that was possible for me. And that was a very limiting belief. And I found someone who loved me, and I enjoyed that security, and I wasn't willing to step out in the world and open myself up to actually really fall in love with someone, because I never had before. And I really didn't think that was possible for me. So I ended that relationship and left TierraMitica and started dating, and went internet dating, which was fine. It was about me learning to be a woman as well, and being desirable and being womanly and feminine. So that was a bit of a transformation for me. And then I nearly gave up on internet dating because I wasn't meeting anyone I really liked. And then I increased my age limit to much higher. And then I met Colin, who is my fiance now, and I fell in love with him straight away.
The relationships that I had before the workshops, I was single from like most of my 20s and into my 30s, and I probably went on 100 dates and had very small relationships with men up until the workshop. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. Like I felt, really lonely, and I keep trying and really believing, but then when it wouldn't work out, I would like blame it on them. I'd blame it on like, oh, there's not quality men out there. There's like, oh, he was this, he was that, he's not for me. And like all these self-destructive patterns and tendencies that I would like do now I know it was like pushing all these men away. And yeah, it was like deep down inside, like I knew that like I deserved to be loved and I wanted to love so badly, but I couldn't understand like what is wrong, like what am I doing wrong? But now I learned the things that I was doing to push people away and in my relationships. And like now I am married, happily married, 3 years, and we just bought our first home together. And it's like the first time in my life that I fully trust love. Like I trust myself in my relationship, and I trust him, and like I feel so good. I feel like really solid finally in a loving relationship.
She took it upon herself to realize that this wasn't going how it should be going, and she started to look for ways to improve herself, books to read, things to watch, and that's how eventually it led to you guys, thank God. And honestly, I didn't know if we were going to be married when she came back. I had no idea what was going to happen there. But she came back completely different, completely open, confident, more aware, communicative, willing to work. And not having gone through it myself, I just tried to listen and understand all the stuff that she was explaining. And in doing so, then it made me realize a lot about myself. And that a lot of the problems that we were having, of course, are not just her. It's both of us. Well, that I think was one of the main things that I've learned and that I've applied to my life, is that in every situation that you find yourself in, every problem that you encounter, you hold a responsibility in that. And so that was huge. I don't know what pillars are. I haven't read them. I know she does. I know she's better for it every time that she does. And everything that she tries to relay to me from that or from what she learned, I try to absorb and I try to apply it to myself, and then apply it to us, and then apply it to our son. And it's all made a huge difference in me individually, in our relationship as a couple, our ability as parents, and it's made a difference in our son's life already. It's
definitely.
I can't thank you guys enough.
In the workshop, I have been given real tools to work on my relationship. So over time, I have built so much trust for my partner that when it comes time to being intimate, in a deep way, I trust him. I trust him, like truly, so my body truly does relax. So the workshop, it helps by giving you real tools to create an amazing relationship, real tools so that over time in your relationship, you keep the spark alive and you keep the communication open so that you don't disconnect and kind of start doing your, like, being together but on your own paths. You get given ways to make sure that you stay as one.
I was very disconnected from my body. I was hiding it, not feeling it at all. Like I was walking on the streets and I was only hearing my thoughts. I was not relaxed at all. My jaw was clenched, my muscles were clenched, and after I connected with myself and with my body, I am feeling more deeply. I am more attractive. I feel more attractive, and definitely my sex life is more attractive.
In the past, I always kind of felt myself proud that I'm a macho man. I can fuck around. I can have a lot of women, and everything is nice. Yeah, I'm an alpha macho man, kind of like that. I saw myself back then. But the sex, it was kind of okay, not necessarily super good. There were moments where I couldn't last in bed more like 1 minute, or couldn't get a full erection or at all. I had this type of moments. And I wasn't feeling myself as a man. And now the sex is way more better. Now I'm feeling her. Now I am it's like super cool, super amazing. It's like I'm doing things to her that I couldn't imagine in the past that I'm even capable, or even I didn't heard in porn star movies. I didn't saw this shit, or saw this type of pleasure that I can give to her. And now sex is like, wow. My level of pleasure, it's like it's getting higher and higher and longer, way more longer. And every time when I'm having sex, for me it's like a holiday. It's like super good. I'm like, wow, I like a child, like, ooh.
Yeah, so romantic relationships before the workshop, I first of all didn't have many of them. Definitely didn't have many deeper relationships with women, and a lot of it was very superficial. I wasn't willing to go deep to a deeper level with them, and be fully open my heart of like laying everything out on the table, and this is who I am, right? That vulnerability, I think, scared me, and I was always afraid that if a woman ever knew fully everything about me, all of the dark stuff about me that, I was ashamed of in my life, that, I wouldn't be loved, right? Or that they wouldn't understand me. So when I did the workshop with my girlfriend at the time, and now wife, what I loved about the experience was really just getting to fully know everything about her, and her getting to see me. And now I just feel that, there's no hiding from her, and I don't want to hide from her, right? I that's the gift of our relationship now, is that open honesty, that truth and transparency. It's the most incredible thing. I get to wake up with the love of my life, and spend every day on this crazy adventure with her.
I had a very complicated upbringing in terms of, I guess, long story short, my mum was a bit of a compulsive liar when it came to telling me the truth about who my real father was, and understanding the relationships that she was having around me, and kind of a lot of sugarcoating, a lot of avoidant behavior, which led me to grow up feeling quite anxious, to have no reference points, not knowing what the truth was and what was a half truth and all of that. because she had me quite young, we almost had a bit of a sisterly relationship as opposed to like a maternal one. So we were very close. But then deep down, I was a lot resentful for all the mistakes that she had made, but I was afraid to voice them. So I didn't think that that was anything to work on. I didn't think that was an issue. I thought everyone had, issues with their parents until I did my first workshop. And yeah, Mikis just like hit it where it hurt and said, this is a relationship that is causing you a lot of suffering. And I was like, no, it's not. She's my best friend. Everything's fine, And he's like, no. This is very deep rooted. And like, that was such a whirlwind. I remember being like, what? Because that was the first time I really learned about, I guess, behavior patterns and your childhood and attachment and all this stuff. So it was absolutely incredible. And like, just within the first few days, big whiplash for really understanding the complexity and what was okay and what was not okay about the relationship. So in that workshop, I really learned where the resentment was coming from, why I was feeling it, and then really giving myself permission to feel. I think I had either pushed it down or taken it out in other ways. And that was one of the most painful things because it was such a paradox. It's like, I love my mom. She brought me into the world, but I am also so angry and so resentful, and I can't feel both at once because that makes me feel so bad. But if I fully let myself feel bad or angry and all these feelings, then I'm a bad person. I'm a bad daughter, like, oh. So it felt like such a safe place that I could just really take myself back 25 years and just feel 25 years worth of confusion and resentment and frustration and anger and everything. So it was very overwhelming, but also such a cleanse at the same time. Like I really needed to feel it, to understand it, and most importantly, to let it go. And that was life-changing for me. So by the time I left the workshop and saw my mom, there wasn't really any anger left. I didn't want to finger point, I didn't even need an apology really, because I thought I could see my mom as a human now. But even though shit kind of hit the fan, it also inspired her to do a workshop. So she ended up coming, I think, 6 months later, which I was so blown away by. I didn't tell her to go. I didn't even try and inspire her to go. I just said, this is what I've done. And she had seen how my behavior had changed. She had seen how much more relaxed I was, how happy I was in myself, how much responsibility I took for things that she thought maybe I didn't need to take responsibility for. So I think she thought, oh, this is special. Like maybe I can go to this place and understand what's happened with Lauren in an incredible way. And maybe I can get some of that peace as well and that self-understanding. So I was so proud of her for going. And our relationship now is better than I could have ever imagined because I can call her out on her shit. But then now that she's also done the workshop, she can now call me out on my shit. So it's great. So it's full of trust, full of honesty, full of so much love in a way that my little girl probably never thought it would be at that level with. So that's amazing.
My dad in particular was one of my toughest relationships where like I saw him as this monster of a man, that he was like just abusive, and I had so much anger. I remember every time I think about him, I would spend like an hour or more like just fuming and going through all these different scenarios of what he'd done to me and how like he should pay for that, or he doesn't say it like it was super victim. Like I was in a super victim about it. It was one of my biggest shifts is when I realized like how much my dad loved me. And after my first workshop, that was one of the main focal points because it was something that affected a lot of my life. And going through my story, I realized that I created all these different perceptions of this man. And even things that weren't true. And like when that veil got lifted of the perception of my dad, like I literally felt a whole area of my brain just go.
Before the workshop, I knew I wanted to have a good relationship with my mom because I loved her and I missed her and everything so much, because we really had become distant. And so I knew I wanted that. And that was one really cool thing, is that through doing the work, I would say I've completely repaired my relationship with my mom, to the point that like she is like everything that I always wanted her to be. And like it really makes me tear up because like I'm just so proud of her, you know? Like to be able to like really feel that, and to feel like, you know, I feel how far I've come, I feel how far she's come, and like to be able to feel like everything, like, you know, all the choices she made and like why she made those choices, and like how beautiful she is, and like how it's all okay. And that was a super cool thing that I got from the workshop. And yeah, I just love her so much. And then also with other members of my family, like one thing that's really changed is just really being myself unapologetically, especially with things like, you know, for example, religion. My family in Brazil is very, very religious, and that was the 1 year after my workshop. That was one of the challenges I had, was visiting them and not being brave enough to say like I'm just not religious. I don't believe these things, because I was so afraid that I wouldn't get their love anymore. And it was super cool to feel how like when I actually express myself, you know, without judgment and just loving them and being open, like I'm open for you guys. It just cannot be in this way. We're not going to connect on religion. To actually feel how like the opposite happened, like they didn't pull away from me. We're much closer now, because they just know that if they want to talk to me, it has to be in these other ways, you know. We can actually have honesty.
I came to a point where I was a hard using drug addict, and got to the bottom, you know, like super depressed, no energy, looked sad and old, felt sad and old, and they caused a lot of damage, a lot of heartache for myself and my children. And then once I sort of moved past that, they involved a lot of guilt, huge amounts of guilt for what I put my family through, for what I put myself through. And what a turnaround. One of the biggest turnarounds in my life since the workshop has been massively letting go of the guilt and loving myself again, and forgiving myself for making those bad decisions and understanding where they came from. And also the guilt for what I put the children through. I let go of that as well.
I remember before my first workshop, I used to have that question, like that set question. I was saying like, what is the purpose of the like human connections? Because I don't get it. So like, yeah, that's like a very like a question that like a stupid question. I see it now, and like I feel like, yeah, like talking to people and try to connect with them is like the most like beautiful thing I can do right now.
I think the belief in TierraMitica that we really like ingrain deeply, one of them is that we are all the same, and that just accepting that has been transformational. completely transformational in every interaction that I have. And it's something that I come back to again and again and again. It helps, you know, in conflict situations, or if I'm feeling intimidated, just that feeling, this person is the same as me. And that's really impacted every relationship in my life.
Right now, oh, we get emotional. I'm in like a place where the relationship with my family is incredible, and I'm just about to start my own business and career that is so inspiring to who I am and what I want to do and how I want to help people. And then on top of that, like, I have my mythic love story where he just treats me like a princess, and it's beautiful, and I'm so happy. Like, I just can't believe it's all happening, you know?
I remember being scared to make one choice. And that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Like, what if I don't like this thing and I've got all this thing invested into it? And so that really kept me from like following my dreams or even having dreams. Eventually, I'd done an advanced workshop, and you can do those once you do a regular workshop, and they have them every year. And I started dreaming up what I wanted to do. And during that workshop, myself and three of some of my closest people in the world, we dreamt up a dream together to build Magic Garden Dreams. And it's this landscaping company, but it's not just landscaping. Like, it's landscaping, but with heart and inspiration. One of our first projects, but by the end of it, the homeowners, Dan, this big, massive man, big, tough guy, was like crying and how beautiful it was and how beautiful we had created not only the project, but the energy throughout the project. For me, like, bringing that childlike sense of wonder or love or beauty into somebody's life is priceless to me.
Before the workshop, I was doing this handmade soap. I loved it, but I had no idea how I could earn money from it, or how I could took it to another level. And in the workshop, I had very clear vision. I learned not to listen to voices from inside me or from others that tell me what I cannot be or what I cannot do. The workshop took my passion that was already there, and my creativity and my inspiration, and showed me a direction, took it to another level. I was able to get a little taste of how my life could look like if I continue to choose day by day. And once I felt that, I get more motivated to fight for my dreams.
I started out life as a trained accountant. I was an economics major at university and went to work in a big corporate firm in the city. And it's what I had been channeled myself into doing. And I thought, oh yes, I really want to be in this fast-paced, exciting, make lots of money kind of environment. And I absolutely hated it. And I really didn't feel the soul in it, and I didn't see the value in it when I was doing it. And so Mickey's asked me what I liked to do when I was a child. And because I grew up in the middle of nowhere in a really little village, I used to make lots of books and scrapbooks and comics, and I love drawing and anything to do with paper. And so he said, well, why don't you make children's books? And it just lit a fire inside me that I had never felt before. And since then, I've started my own book company, and I have published 2 books, and I have another one coming out in a couple of months. And another one on the way as well, and I'm about to start a master's in children's book illustration at the best children's book illustration school in the world. Basically, I bring my own transformation to life in a book. So this first one was about learning to be vulnerable and asking for help, and how you create incredible connections with people when you ask them to help you. So it's about me receiving love and learning that people do want to help me and I don't have to do everything myself. So that was that. And then this one was about realizing I'm an incredible, powerful woman and can do anything that I choose and can live incredible dreams that I have.
So one thing I really got from the workshops was just the acknowledgement of what my natural talents are.
Before I came to the workshop and learned about the work, my inspiration and dreaming were cloudy. There was no clarity, and there was no plan. Oh, I'd love to do that. And that would be the extent of it. Mm-hmm. I would look at pictures or read about things and think, oh, I'd love to do that. But yeah, there was no clarity. There was no action. There was nothing in motion. But after the workshop, man, I'm 100% inspired. I'm inspired by life, because there's this joy and love for life in me now. So I'm going to school for a year, and I will be, at the end of it, a qualified pharmaceutical technician. Yeah.
Prior to the workshops, I was like this victim in work, right? I always tried to do the least amount of work possible, or oftentimes. And I was also ashamed of my profession in sales, seeing, understanding these beliefs and where they were coming from, and understanding that these old beliefs were actually inhibiting my success and my development and my growth, and inhibiting me from, becoming a leader and a successful business person. So taking responsibility for me was making sure the job gets done no matter what. And, taking responsibility for me now is claiming what I want. If I want that promotion to be the sales manager, then I tell them what I want, and I go after it, and I find out what I need to do to get it, right? It's much more clear. And, the fun part about being a human is things are challenging and scary, but so it's not to say that you don't feel, nervous or things don't, challenges don't come up, but it's overcoming those along the way that's so fun. But taking responsibility has been such this grounding force in my life. Again, before the workshop, I would have said, well, that wasn't my fault, right? I didn't know I was supposed to do that. And now it's, okay, great. Hey, look, that was totally my fault, my bad. I take responsibility, great learning experience. I'll fix it, right? Leave it with me. I'll fix it, whatever it is.
Going to a workshop, you get to zoom out on your life. You get out of the trenches of just, surviving and doing the things today. You get to zoom out and just look at your choices and look at the timeline of your life and think, is this where I want to go? So I completely shifted my career. I actually left a business I had spent years and years investing in, and just brought on a new director and started again in something that I felt was magic for me.
The biggest reluctancy for myself before going to these workshops was, I think, deep down inside, I didn't think that I was deserving of it. I wasn't deserving of spending that kind of money or, going that far for me. But now I fully know, and I know that I deserve everything. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be loved. I deserve everything.
The Mythic Voyage isn't a fix-all. It's It's a program that it gives you 150% of the tools that you need. But the real work starts when you finish, and you can, it's choice. Like, you can choose to go back to the way you were, or you can choose a new life. And with the tools that you're given, you can absolutely choose a new life.
Is there days where I fall into paradox? Of course. Is there days where I feel shit? Of course. But I don't know, I feel the workshop has given me tools to just be able to move through things and find ways to overcome things.
Just everything I'm doing now in my life is because of like the tools, but the moments, the experiences that I've had in those workshops and that I've taken with me since then.
I learned so much. I learned to say yes to life.